All right, looks like we live. Shalom, shalom.
Shalom.
First and foremost, we want to give all praises, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rachakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and others, a great millstone. Peace and salutations to the elect. I'm the brother Aina from GMS Dallas, and I got the Elder Yatazak here as well. And we're going to be continuing the series, all right, with the book of Second Esdras. Today we're on chapter 4, and we'll see how much we can get through it. Might have to split it up into two separate lessons, but Lord willing, this is edifying. So just kind of going off of the end of chapter 3. Let me let's go back here. Okay. you have Ezra, all right, receiving a vision in the beginning of the chapter. All right. And basically he gets in the spirit and starts asking the Lord questions, asking the Lord questions about the state of Israel, as a nation at that time, how we ended up in that position. And that's pretty much the whole chapter, right? He's asking questions. So now in the next chapter, chapter 4, okay, he gets a response. Okay.
Hey, can you get before we get started? Can you get what's the Ezekiel 9:4?
Con.
Put a mark on the foreheads of the men that sigh and they cry, because that's what
Con.
Esdras was doing, and that's the state that we come in. You see, you got all these guys that claiming to be prophets, but they not worried about the Lord sending His Son back. I'm gonna say that's what I'm saying. You look at these other groups; they don't even mention the Lord coming back.
Mhm.
They want to tell you about the glory of the kingdom, minus the Lord. You know what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, the prophet's mindset is, what does the Lord want? You know, you ask all these questions and you come to the conclusion that the Lord's will is going to be fulfilled. So you need to make sure you're on the right side, which the Lord is controlling all of that anyway. But when you look at the prophets, you see the ones that's telling the truth. The scriptures always tell you about the false prophets too. So it's two different kinds. This is the mindset of a true prophet. You know what I'm saying? How long are we gonna be doing this, Lord? When you gonna come get us? When you gonna save us? These heathens been ruling for a while. What do we do? Like you mentioned it last week. What? How did we get here? You know what I'm saying? And when you see how we went here, you get to the point to where you understand that we went off. Just that simple. You got it.
Con. Uh, all right, let's see here. I don't know why these pages are taking so long, but I have it. I have it right here. I just won't screen share it. This is Ezekiel 9:4. It says, "And Yahweh Shem Yahushai said unto him, Go through the midst of the city, through the midst of Jerusalem, and set a mark upon the foreheads of the men that sigh and that cry for all the abominations that be done in the midst thereof."
You see, and that's what prophets do. You see, prophets tell you about what's coming based off what the Lord has given unto them. You see, and that's what it's all about. Esdras was sighing and crying. How long we gonna go through this? How much longer we gonna go through this? Okay, I get it. We went off, but can't you just bring everybody to the planet now so we can get it over with? You know what I'm
Right.
saying? He's hastening in the day. You know, and that's the spirit that
Mhm.
we got to be in. Now, when you get that word for Mark, you know what I'm saying? It's the wa for exemption from judgment. So the Lord
Mhm.
is just like the Lord Yahweh Shai prayed in John 17. I'm not praying that you take them out of the world. I'm praying that you make them strong enough to endure. You see, and that's what Ezra finally ended up realizing. You see, okay, well, I'm just gonna have to endure. You know, you got it.
Mhm. Con. All right. Let me get a precept to hold on the side real quick. Isaiah 57:15. All right, I'm gonna continue reading here in Second Ezra 4. Or I'm start. This is Second Ezra 4:1. It says, "And the angel that was sent unto me," because this is basically answering the questions that Ezra was posing in chapter 3, right? So the Lord, he answers our prayers, man. If they're in sincerity, right? He'll answer them. If it's according to His will, right? So it says, "And the angel that was sent unto me, whose name was Israel, excuse me, whose name was Uriel, Salakia. gave me an answer and said, "Thy heart hath gone too far in this world, and thinkest thou to comprehend the way of the Most High?" You know, because while you're in this world, man, you are being influenced by wickedness, and you really can't even control it. You know, um,
So look at the
there's a
2/3.
scripture. Mm-hmm. Con. I'm gonna get the scripture real quick. I didn't know if you were saying something.
Oh no, you good.
Con. I'm gonna put this in Wisdom of Solomon 9. Hopefully, it doesn't take an eternity to load. Uh, this real quick. All right, this is Wisdom of Solomon 9 and 15. Actually, I'll start up. Let's see. Okay, I'll start at verse 13, actually. This is Wisdom of Solomon 9 and 13. It says, "For what man is he that can know the counsel of the Most High? Or who can think what the will of the Lord is?" You know, because when you go back at these questions that, Ezra was posing, which we understand it now, in hindsight, according to prophecy, and just being that we have the records of these, conversations, with our forefathers, and getting these questions answered. Now we understand them through the Spirit, you see. But there's no way you're going to be able to receive that information unless the Lord, answers you directly, or he sends a messenger to answer that question directly. Okay.
Yep.
We
Oh,
can really only, yeah.
somebody put it on the comment board. Yeah, I was just thinking about it. Isaiah 55 and 8. Yeah, it
Mm,
says, for my thoughts are not your thoughts. This GMS Melbourne, Shalom, Shalom, the water. It says Isaiah 55 and 8. It says, for my thoughts are not your thoughts, and neither are my ways your ways, saith the Lord. You see, so unless he tells you, you don't know. That's just what it is.
that's
You got
it.
it.
That's it. Right. And that's very, very evident in this chapter. But I'm gonna continue on this precept. This is back in Wisdom of Solomon 9. All right, verse 13. It says in the middle of the verse, "Or who can think what the will of the Lord is? For the thoughts of mortal men are miserable, and our devices are but uncertain." You
Now
know,
you see the Lord share his secrets with his servants, the prophets. You see, and that's what it is. That's what it is. I was say if me and you are in a place and it's just us two, and I don't want nobody to know what we gonna know what we talking about, I'm gonna talk to you in code. You know what I'm saying? We have been given the same secrets, therefore we know how to speak amongst those without. You got it.
that's right. All right, verse 15, and here's the point. It says, "For the corruptible body." So here's the key, and this really applies to like the theme of this whole chapter, really, because as we continue on in Second Ezra 4, Uriel kind of like reminds Ezra, like, look, you're asking questions that are they're very spiritual questions, but you're a man in the flesh, and that's why, like Yahushua said in Matthew 13, he said many prophets and holy men desire to hear the things that we hear and see the things that we see. Blessed, we're blessed because we're able to receive those things. you know we're able to receive those things through the Holy Spirit, through the comforter. you know and so this is, reading chapters like this, it really makes you appreciate, like, where we're at in prophecy. um but continuing on in verse 15, it says, "For the corruptible body presseth down the soul, and the earthy tabernacle weigheth down the mind that museth upon many things." You
That
see?
reminds me of what Paul was talking about with that battle between the spirit and the flesh. You see,
Hmm.
when he talked about being the creature being made subject to vanity, when he talked about struggling with sin in that one chapter. You see, I want
Hmm.
to do what's right, but I can't because it's this flesh. You see, this flesh is described as chains of darkness. You see, you got it.
Fine. that was the point. So I'll go back here. Second Ezra's chapter 4 and verse 2 again. It says, and said, thy heart, this is Uriel speaking, and said, thy heart hath gone too far in this world, and thinkest thou to comprehend the way of the Most High? It says, then said I, yea, my Lord. And he answered me and said, I am sent to show thee three ways. Because basically Ezra said, look, I think I can understand the ways of the Lord. You know what I mean? That's what he was
Mm-hmm.
saying. So Uriel as an angel, his response was like, okay, um, I'll see. Well, let's see about that. Okay. So he says, I am sent to show thee three ways and to set forth three similitudes before thee. Okay. It says basically he's gonna put three scenarios in front of Ezra, three, things to see if he can do it. It says, whereof if thou canst declare me one, I will show thee also the way that thou desirest to see. Okay, so if you can answer any one of these three things, I'm gonna answer your questions that you asked in chapter 3. You know, it says, and I shall show thee from whence the wicked heart cometh. All right, and so Ezra accepted. Right, verse 5. And I said, tell on, my Lord. And then said he unto me, go thy way, weigh me the weight of the fire, or measure me the blast of the wind, or call me again the day that is past. Seemingly impossible things to do for a man that was living, you know, close to 2,500 years ago, right?
Mm-hmm.
Uh, it says in verse 6, then answered I and said, what man is able to do that? That thou shouldest ask such things of me, right? Like basically, as was like, there's no way I can do that. Like, you know,
Oh,
uh,
he patting his pockets and shit.
you know what I mean? And stuff like this is why Esau thinks he's a god, because now with his technology, just as a side note, he's able to measure, how much, wind is being blown, and he's able to recall a day that has passed by way of, the technology. You can record a video now, what I'm saying, on your phone. You can what I say, weigh the weight of fire. You know what I'm saying? He can do that. Detect temperatures, exact measurements, right? So he's seeing stuff like this, like interactions like this, because Esau, he goes back in the scriptures, he reads everything, and he's been able to accomplish a certain level of things. All right, and but back then, of course, this was basically impossible, right? And and that's why Ezra saying, "Look, I can do that." Why are you asking that? Something I can't even do. And verse 7 says, "And he said unto me, if I should ask thee how many wells are in the midst of the sea, or how many springs are in the beginning of the deep, how many springs are above the firmament, which outgoing of paradise never went down."
Oh, you froze? Damn it! Can you hear me out? Oh, hurry up, go with this gay shit, man. God damn. Can you hear me out? What is that bull? Oh boy. All right, let me get one of these precepts. All right, we got Isaiah 8 and 20. All right. says to the law and to the testimony, if they speak not according to this word, it's because there's no light in them. You see? And that's the thing, the difference between the prophets. The Lord set it up to where the prophets was going to be able to explain what's going on with everything. And if you can't explain everything that's going on, then the Lord ain't dealing with you. You see? But a prophet got to ask the right questions. I did a lesson on this chapter years ago, and that was the main thing. Like, you got to ask the right questions. You got to ask what the Lord wants. You see, instead of expecting him to do whatever you want him to do. No, you got to figure out what he wants. His ways is above our ways, so we need to find those ways out. And we don't find those ways out if he don't give it to us. You see, and through Yahweh Shai, we get that understanding. The things that have been made known to please the Heavenly Father have been made known to us through Yahweh Shai. You see, but as a prophet, you got to ask the right questions. What does the Lord want? Not what I want. If you don't want what the Lord wants, you ain't gonna fucking get it. You got it.
Come on. I don't know why your screen is coming up black, but on the stream, okay, there we go. I don't know what the heck is going on.
Oh yeah,
So like
your
I
screen
said,
was your screen was black a second ago. So yeah, like they taking turns fucking with us.
Can you tell me what verse I cut off at? Because I don't know.
Uh,
I was this is where I stopped right here in verse 9. Um, or verse 8. I read verse 8 basically. I don't
yeah,
know.
you can pick up at 9.
All right, cool. All right, this is continuing on here, Second Ezra chapter 4 and 9. It says, "Nevertheless, now have I asked thee, but only of the fire and wind, and of the day wherethrough thou hast passed, and of things from which thou canst not be separated, and yet canst thou give me no answer of them." So yeah, as the angel Uriel was saying, like, I'm asking you about things that you're familiar with. Yesterday, fire, wind, right? And he's saying, look, you can't even answer basic things like that, things that you're familiar with, right? Verse 10, it says, "He said, moreover unto me, thine own things and such as are grown up with thee, canst thou not know? How should thy vessel then be able to comprehend the way of the highest, and the world being now outwardly corrupted, to understand the corruption that is evident in my sight?" You see? So if I make this reference, quite often, if you have a corrupted file, bro, you're not going to be able to see the picture. Okay, you have to have an uncorrupted file to be able to see it, right? So if we're in this corruptible flesh and we're in this corrupted world, which is why we brought that scripture in the Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 9, right? We're in this corrupted world. We're not going to be able to see things from a pure lens and a pure way of understanding, like how, for example, angels who they do not have those corruptible fleshly bodies like we do, they can see things clearly, and the only way that we can even get an inkling of that is through the spirit of Yahweh Shem Yahushai. Okay. And so that's really what makes us different from everybody else, like, as far as the average man in the flesh. Now, keep in mind, Ezra was in the spirit, he was sincere. He wanted to know what was going on. Okay. And even he wasn't able to answer the answer that, Uriel asked. Okay. And I don't think anybody will be able to answer that, without, some type of technology. And even then, it's still corrupted. Right. So that's the perspective that Uriel was trying to put Ezra in before answering anything directly. Right. So verse 12 says, then actually, let me check this, see if this precept is good. Which I don't know. I don't think it finished loading, actually. I'll let it finish loading. Yeah. I'll get it later. This is Second Ezra's verse 13, Second Ezra 14 and 13, excuse me, chapter 4, verse 13. It says, he answered me. Oh, wait, I skipped it. I skipped verse 12. It says, then said I unto him, it were better that we were not at all, than that we should live still in wickedness and to suffer, and not to know wherefore. Yeah, so he was saying, like, We don't even know why we're suffering. We're just living in this wicked state. You know, it's better that we were not born. That's why uh scripture says in Jeremiah, cursed be the day wherein I was born. Let not the day that my mother bare me be blessed. You know, this celebration of birthdays and all that stuff, that's pagan practices, man. Okay. That's heathenistic practices. That's what Pharaoh was doing in Genesis, and Herod was doing, you know. But we don't really, we're not really big on birthdays like that, you know. And so it says, verse 13, he answered me and said, I went into a forest, into a plain, and the trees took counsel and said, come, let us go and make war against the sea, that it may depart away before us, and that we may make us grow more woods. So he's putting forth a parable, okay, basically to give a a similitude, like, to answer the question. Same thing that if you think about back in 2 Samuel with David and Bathsheba, when Nathan confronted David, about the situation with Bathsheba, and you know he put forth a parable, or a hypothetical situation to David, and David judged that situation, and that ended up helping him understand, where he went off, right? So in
Mhm.
another way, basically the angel is putting forth a situation to help uh, Ezra come to the conclusion that he needs to come to understand his own question, all right, or to understand the answer to his question, all right. It says, and I'll read verse 14 again. It says, and said, come, let us go and make war against the sea, that it may depart away before us, and that we may make us more woods. And the floods of the sea also in their manner took counsel and said, come, let us go up and subdue the woods of the plain, that there also we may make us another country. Okay, so
That's just like that. That's just
mhm,
like I think that's in either Psalms or Proverbs where it's talking about how the waters can only go where the Lord want them to go. They can't go further than that. You know what I'm
yep.
saying? So for them to make a plan, if you know where their precept is, you can pull it. But yeah, if water think that it's gonna take over, then that's a foolish plan because the water ain't gonna take over unless the Lord wanted to. You know what I'm saying? Like the trees. That's why I say trees can't do nothing but what the Lord set them up to do. So for them to make a plan to do anything outside of that, you know what I'm saying? So how much more for human, what they call it, fucking free will? Nah,
Mhm.
man. Nah. An example of that is when the Lord had David number Israel, and he gave him three options on which punishment. But all the punishments were fucked up for Israel. You know what I'm saying? So whatever options you weighed have been placed before you, and you're gonna pick the one that the Lord wanted you to pick any damn way. So that's what the angel is telling Ezra. Look, you just gonna have to deal, bro. You know what I'm saying? You think the Lord? I would say you think like you said, you think you love Israel more than the Lord do? You don't. You couldn't even
Mhm.
answer a few questions. How you gonna save Israel and you couldn't even answer a couple questions? Go ahead.
I think if I'm not mistaken, this is where you're talking about, because it goes into it more. Um, but if you're not talking about this one, there's one in Proverbs as well. I'm gonna pull it. Proverbs 8, and see if it comes up. Let me know if this is the one. All right, this is Proverbs 8 and 29. It says, when he gave to the sea his decree that the water should not pass his commandment, when
That's
he
it.
appointed, okay, yeah, you
That's
know,
it. So that's what I'm saying. Even if water want to get stupid, water getting cut.
yeah, yeah, kind of facts. Everything is in its
you
own
can't
order.
you can't do nothing outside of what's been set up.
Kind, that's right. Everything's in its own order. People don't think about that. Like the fact that, the tide, like everything works, synchronized, like in harmony. The tide with the moon, and the stars, like the ordinances of the heavens, everything follows the decree of the Lord, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So
I said,
uh
why do you think? I said, why do you think the sun has never risen in the west?
right.
Because the Lord put it to where it's gonna set in the west. It
Hmm.
rises in the east, it sets in the west. It can't
Hmm.
do nothing outside of that. That's what I'm saying. The sun can't just wake up one morning and say, you know what? I feel like representing the west side. West still for live. Get the fuck out of here. The sun gonna do what the fuck it's supposed to do, and so are people.
Yep.
Go ahead.
Yeah, we're the only ones that go off for real, because even like the animals and stuff, like, you know what I mean? Like, really the sons of Adam are the only ones that like transgress, like, how, you know what I mean? Like,
Mm-hmm.
a dog or a ant or a fish can't transgress the laws of the Most High. They're naturally, you know, doing things how the Lord created them to do. We're the only ones that's doing crazy stuff, as
Yep.
man, I'm saying in general, right? So when you go back here, all right, it says, and this is the continuation of this parable. It says, the floods of the sea also in like manner took counsel and said, come, let us go up and subdue the woods of the plain, that there also we may make us another country. The thought of the wood was in vain, for the fire came and consumed it. Right. So they didn't even have the wood, the woods didn't even have, the trees, they didn't even have a chance to, you know, uh, they didn't even have a chance to, start their plan, because the fire stopped them. Right. It says, and the thought of the floods of the sea came likewise to naught, for the sand stood up and stopped them. Right. So the barriers and the bounds are set up. It reminds me of what is that in Job chapter 14? The Lord set the bounds where he cannot pass. You know, Esau
Mm-hmm.
Esau would, like, we have to go. We have certain parameters that we can't exceed either. You know what I mean? That's why Esau, he trying to go other planets and all that stuff. Like, nah, bro, you're confined to this zone. The earth is big enough. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And anytime Esau try to, wiggle away out of that, like, no matter what he tries, sending nukes up to the atmosphere, trying to blow up a whole, blow up the firmament. It ain't gonna work, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it says, verse 16. Actually, I read that already. Verse 18. It says, "If thou wert to judge now between, but betwixt means between, so it's interchangeable. If thou wert to judge betwixt these two, whom wouldest thou begin to justify, or whom wouldest thou condemn?" Right? Verse 19, it says, "And I answered and said, verily, it is a foolish thought that they both have devised, for the ground is given unto the wood, and the sea also hath its place to bear his floods." Right? Like, it already has this predetermined, uh, place. I believe it talks about that in chapter 6 as well, you know, which we're going to get into all of it, man. It's going to be good stuff. But it
Mm-hmm.
says, verse 20, "Then answered he me and said, thou hast given a right judgment, but why judgest thou not thyself also?"
You see that? So the Lord control water, he control land, but he don't control the people that he put on that land.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It's another precept where it talks about the Lord created the earth and people to dwell on it. You know what I'm
Mm.
saying? So the Lord, that's what I'm saying. People don't understand what it says when the Lord created Yahweh Shai. He created everything, and then after the Lord died and resurrected, everything was put under his feet. People don't know what that means. But what it does mean is that the Lord is in total control.
Right.
You got it.
I got a preset real quick. This is Proverbs 20 and 24. It says, "Man's goings are of the Lord, Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai. How can a man then understand his own way?"
Right now, we mentioned earlier the creature was made subject to vanity. When you go into that root word, The root word for creature is katizo, right? And it
Which
says
word you want me to get?
uh uh the creature. See,
Oh,
people think
yeah,
when they hear the word creature, they thinking about bugs and shit. Like, nah,
yeah.
man, people, right? It says creature, kadizo is the word, right? To make habitable to people, a place, region, a land, all part of the creation, right? God created the world. Yahushua created the world under His orders. You see, to shape, completely change, or transform. You see, but that creature, people is involved in that creature, and that creature was made subject to vanity. You are under the rule of vanity, which makes us go off. That's why this flesh is a chain of darkness. Okay, you got it.
Con. Let's make this real quick. All right. That was it on that Proverbs 20. Continuing on here, back in Second Ezra 4, and let's see. I'll read verse 21 again. All right, it says, "For like as the ground is given unto the wood, and the sea to his floods, even so they that dwell upon the earth may understand nothing but that which is upon the earth. And he that dwelleth above the heavens may only understand the things that are above the height of the heavens." Okay. And pretty much, that lets you know that there's certain things that we're just not meant to understand, as far as men that are in his flesh, which is why the fact that the Lord has revealed certain heavenly things unto us is such a big deal. Because it's like, despite this, what the angel said, like, for example, like, angels, on the contrary, you know, certain things that we do down here on the earth, they don't do up there in the heavens. You know what I mean? And obviously vice versa. So, you know, the spirit world and the physical world are two different domains. Okay. And so the angel was basically trying to explain it to him, like, all of these questions that you're asking questions that require understanding of the spirit of how yet the Lord works. You know what I mean? And the Lord, he's, the scriptures say, yeah, the Most High is a spirit, and they that worship him must worship him in spirit and in truth. So you gotta have those attributes in order to even understand. Okay, he wasn't asking about how long a day is, or things that he was asking about spiritual things, right? So it says, verse 22, then answered I and said, I beseech thee, O Lord, let me have understanding. So Ezra was sincere. He was sincere, which is why ultimately the Lord, he kept feeding him information. you know he desired it. He desired the sincere milk. Well, at this point it really wasn't milk. This was meat. You know what I mean? Certain things he received. um but he was sincere. Okay. And had a precept. Is it this one? Isaiah, this is it right here. Isaiah 57 and verse 15, it says, "For thus saith the high one and lofty one that inhabiteth eternity, whose name is holy. I dwell in the high place, excuse me, in the high and holy place, with him that is of a contrite and humble spirit, to revive the spirit of the humble, and to revive the heart of the contrite ones." You see? So you see here, there's no pride in Ezra's request. Okay. There, he was like, look, he was being humble, he was being contrite. He was even when you read in the beginning of chapter 3, it talked about, I believe it said, uh he laid trouble upon his bed, and thoughts came over his heart. So he was contrite in asking those questions. He wasn't being proud. Okay. So he continues on in verse 23. All right. And says, "For it was not my mind to be curious of the high things, but of such as pass by us daily, namely, wherefore Israel is given up as a reproach to the heathen.
Yeah, you know
And
what I'm
for
saying?
what
Ezra say, look, I ain't trying to know all that. I'm trying to figure out why we so messed up. You know what I'm
right,
saying? It was like you mentioned in last week's lesson. You know what I'm saying? Going back to the root of the problem. You know what I'm saying? That's why we're able to get into Adam and eventually get into Yahweh Shai. You see? But Ezra is the same mindset as us. Look, I don't need to know everything. I just need to know why we so messed up. You know what I'm saying? What's going on? And then
Con,
that's to back up what you said. You know what I'm saying? He wasn't bucking up or being an asshole. He just wanted to know. He was like, nah, I don't want to know everything the Lord know. I want to know everything about what's going on with us and how we can get out of this shit. You know what I'm
right,
saying? You got it.
con. All right. I'll start verse 23 again. For it was not my mind to be curious of the high things, but of such as pass by us daily, namely, wherefore Israel is given up as a reproach to the heathen, and for what cause the people whom thou hast loved is given over unto ungodly nations, and why the law of our forefathers is brought to naught, and the written covenants come to none effect.
Yep. And I would say basically the answer is sin. That's why we so fucked up, Esdras.
Right. You know,
It's
and and
because of
and, and
sin.
kind, that's right. And also Ezra knew, like, okay, the law that we received, all right, to atone for our sins, we still going off, because at the time, see, it's different now than it was back then. Now we understand, Yahweh resurrection, what it meant. He's the atonement for our sins. He's the way that we can enter back into because we've seen it, with our own eyes. Certain men, they saw Yahweh, when he raised from the dead. So now that we know that that's possible, that was prior to that, nothing like that had ever happened as far as, you know, uh, like actually being raised from the dead. All right, in the same, basically, still back in the same body. You know, Yahweh still had that same body, and then he was changed when he went up in Acts chapter 1. Beginning of Acts chapter 1, that's when he received that heavenly body. You know what I mean. That's when he received that heavenly body. You know, and so with
Boy.
that being Con, yeah, it's
Oh,
a big
no,
deal.
go ahead. No, I just looked something up. I looked up what tribe Esdras was from. Look what it said. It says
What's it?
Esdras, also known as Ezra, was not from a specific tribe, but was a priest who was part of the lineage of Aaron, which would make him a Levite.
Right, right, right. Yeah, that's what I thought he was. Con,
And that's what I'm saying. He's asking these questions, so you know that he knows that sin is why we fucked up.
right, right.
You got it.
Con, that's right, exactly. So he's like, how do we get out of it? You know what I mean? Because at that point, Yahweh hadn't come yet. That's the reason why I was saying everything. So, he was trying to see, like, what do we need to do? Right? Verse 24 says, and he was also complaining, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we pass away out of the world as grasshoppers, and our life is astonishment and fear, and we are not worthy to obtain mercy, right? So he's like, look, I don't even see a way out of this. Like, we done messed up so much as a nation. You know what I mean? Like, the temple is destroyed. Like, everything is so jacked up. How could we even be redeemed based off of the words, that the Lord gave to Moses, the commandments, the law. There's no way. Ezra understood at that point there was no way that we would have been able to be redeemed through acting any of those things out. Okay, at that given point that we was at, it was too late. Okay, and it says, what will he then do to unto his name whereby we are called? Of these things have I asked. You see, because he's like, look, are we gonna be just a disgrace in the world forever, like right now, like how we are right now? What about the name of the, like, his his glory? What about the glory of the Lord? What about the promises that he made to our forefathers? Like, how can we obtain that? Right? Verse 26 says, then answered he me and said, the more thou searchest, the more thou shalt marvel. That's a heavy
Man.
answer.
Yep. The rabbit hole go deep.
Yeah, kind. You know, and yeah, that's a heavy answer, man, because he's like, okay, like Uriel's like, okay, he really wants to know. I'm gonna try to explain it to him. And then he starts to now Uriel starts to explain things. Okay. Um,
Mm-hmm.
it says, for the world hasteth fast to pass away and cannot comprehend the things that are promised to the righteous in time to come.
See, now what that means is you got to understand the prophecies. You know what I'm saying? Read that again.
Kind. It says verse 26, then answered he me and said, the more thou searchest, the more thou shalt marvel. For the world hasteth fast to pass away and cannot comprehend the things that thou art promised, the things that are promised to the righteous in time to come.
You
For
see,
this
so
world,
within that, you got Esdras is gonna have to die. He's gonna have to come back. However many times it took for the will of the Lord to be fulfilled. You know what I'm saying? So he letting them know. You know, you I get it that you asking these questions, but I'm explaining it the best way that I can. You know what I'm saying? So I wouldn't be surprised if you can't get it right now. But I'm gonna tell
yeah,
you
yeah,
because I know you sincere and I know you want to know. So I'm gonna tell you. Here we go.
right, that's right. Yeah, you know what I mean? And there's certain, I mean, I already said it already, but there's certain things that, uh were not understood, man, back then, bro. Like, you know what I mean? We talking about, you know, 2,500 years ago.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? There's certain things like if Ezra had a time machine, or see he will somehow, teleported to the year 2025, he'd see a lot of things that he didn't understand. Shit, there's stuff like that we use every day that we don't understand how it works. And your engine in your car, your cell phone, all different type of
Mhm.
stuff. You know what I mean? So that, there's things of this world that have advanced throughout time, all right, to where now we're at the tail end. We're at the tail end of prophecy now. Okay, and things have
Mhm.
been going on in the spirit as well. All right, now it says in verse 27 again at the second half of the verse says, for this world is full of unrighteousness and infirmities. Okay, meaning basically, like what does the scripture say about wisdom cannot enter into a malicious soul? I'm gonna find that real quick. I know it's in the Wisdom of
Yeah.
Solomon, you know,
Mhm.
but basically that lets you know right there. Even like, okay, for example, in Genesis 6, you know, if it was this wicked in Genesis 6, then how much more now? All right. Uh Genesis 6, okay, and verse 5. All right, it says, and the Most High, Yahweh, saw that the wickedness of man was great in the earth, and that every imagination of the thoughts of his heart was only evil continually. You see, if this was back then before the flood, and the Lord flooded the earth, he completely gutted the world population and brought it down to what Noah and his three sons and their wives. So what? 8 people. Okay, single digit population. All right, that lets you know that the world today, now that we know that it's even more wicked, which the angel's going to go into it, that gives you an idea of how jacked up this place really truly is. You
And
know,
that's a trip how people always want to say, well, how can Jacob and Esau be brothers? How can they be two separate people when they came out of the same father? You know what I'm saying? But that's, so you gonna ask that about Shem, Ham, and Japheth too?
right?
They came out the same man.
They're just simple minded.
You know what I'm
You know,
saying? So the Lord can take a man's children and put different spirits on them.
kind.
Like the Lord can do that,
Right.
and
Yeah, he's the
and we
father.
and
Yeah.
we we had to figure that out too.
Khan.
You got it.
Khan. He's the father of spirits. So people asking spiritual questions, like now that I'm seeing how Uriel was dealing with Ezra, like that's kind of how we gotta deal with people when they ask questions, because it's like, okay, in order to understand this, in order to in order for you to understand the answer to your question that you're asking, there's prerequisites, meaning you have to
Mhm.
already understand this, and this. Like, for example, they're not going to teach algebra to a second grader when he still don't know how to do multiplication and division. All right.
Right.
Part of algebra involves you knowing how to do addition, subtraction, multiplication, division. You got to know exponents. You got to know parentheses. You got to know the square root, all that stuff. You know, if you don't get that stuff down, then you're not gonna be able to understand algebra. It's just gonna it's not gonna make no sense to you, right?
Man.
So there's prerequisites to understanding certain questions. All right. Now it says in verse 28, all right, but as concerning the things whereof thou askest me, I will tell thee, for the evil is sown, but the destruction thereof is not yet come. You see? And the destruction is going to come, here to Babylon the Great. Okay. That's when you start getting into, the prophecy of, this place getting destroyed, man. Okay. Because that's how it's going to be destroyed. Yahweh Shai is going to return, okay, with the chariots, dismantle this man's kingdom. All right. And set up, the new heavens and the new earth. Okay. After the thermonuclear missiles, man. All right. Now, verse 29 says, if therefore that which is sown be not turned upside down, okay, and if the place where the evil is sown pass not away, then cannot it come that which is sown with good. So I'm gonna get a couple of let's see which one. Yeah, I'm gonna get Revelation 7. I don't know why I didn't. Revelation 7. All right. It's tripping out. Revelation. Maybe I have too many tabs open. Also, let's see here. A multitude. I don't know why it's not loading, bro. It like stops loading mid-page. I'm gonna get rid of some of these. Oh, here we go. I think it loaded now. Okay. Um, all right. Yeah. Revelation 7 and 14. Okay. It says, and I said unto him, Sir, thou knowest. Actually, I'll start at verse 13. And one of the elders answered, saying unto me, what are these which are arrayed in white robes? And whence came they? And I said unto him, Sir, thou knowest. And he said unto me, these are they which came out of great tribulation, and have washed their robes and made them white in the blood of the Lamb.
I
Okay,
was
so
gonna say
this
that
great.
they
Mhm.
came through great tribulation.
Right.
You see? They came through great tribulation, meaning there wasn't gonna be no cakewalk. You know what I'm saying? It's
Con,
gonna be a lot. It's gonna be a lot that has to happen. See, you got Jacob's trouble, you got the MOTB, you got World War III. Though that's that tribulation that's building up right now. That we know by the prophecies that the Lord is getting closer and closer and closer. All right, you got it.
con.
Now that ain't no. I would say that
All right.
ain't no replacement theology neither. You see, those are all
No.
those scattered Israelites that believed on this word, repented, and was delivered. You see,
Right.
ain't nobody in this group eating snake or monkey meat. Ain't no faggots. It ain't no lesbos. It ain't none of that shit in this crowd right here. Okay,
Right.
motherfucker, go ahead.
That's right.
Body of believers,
That's
get the
right.
fuck out of here. Your ugly ass.
Yeah. Oh, you talking about Genesis? They were saying that,
Whoever say
or
it,
who was
fuck
saying
them.
that? Oh, right. Con.
Vocab,
Yeah, man.
vocab said it. They'll probably say it too. Shit, them niggas done already took eternal life off the table, so we damn so ain't fucking with them. But I'm just
Yeah.
saying, they on their
Right.
way. They on their way to say anybody can get salvation.
Yep.
They
Well,
probably
that's
2 weeks out.
that's what GOCC they said basically like Edomites like they can make it. You know what I'm saying? You
That's what I'm
know.
saying. Where are the precepts to back that up? It ain't none, motherfucker. Yeah, I would say your lying ass gonna always run out of precepts.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So and because when you read up, of course it mentions 144,000, each of the 12 tribes, right? So it says verse 15, therefore are they before the throne of the Most High and serve him day and night in his temple, and he that sitteth on the throne shall dwell among them. Okay, and it talks about how we no longer gonna wipe away the tears from our eyes, right? And so before all that happens, right, we have to endure that great tribulation. All right, the grain of evil seed, the seed of the serpent, you know, um, all that has to be taken out, man. Okay, all that has to be taken out of the earth. Okay, and the Lord, He has a game plan for that. Okay, it says verse 30, for the grain of evil seed has been sown in the heart of Adam from the beginning. That corruption we've received, excuse me, we've received corruption. I got a precept real quick. Okay, you see, we receive corruption. Okay, matter of fact, I'm gonna finish the verse first, and I'll get the precept. But we receive corruption in the garden, right? That's what it says from the beginning. And how much ungodliness hath it brought up unto this time? And how much yet shall it bring forth until the time of threshing, which threshing is an agricultural thing that you do. Look it up. Let's look up threshing real quick.
It's a little bit after 5:30, brother.
Okay. Yeah, we might have to take a little we'll do part two. You know what I'm saying? Threshing definition. Okay. The water. Let's pull this up real quick. While that loads. Okay, there we go. Threshing says the process of separating grain from corn or other crops. Okay. So the separation, okay, the separation from of the wheat from the chaff, so to speak. Okay. To thresh, okay, to separate grain from a plant, typically with a flail or by the action of a revolving mechanism. Okay. So yeah, to thresh. Okay, that's pretty much what the definition
Is it an
point.
image? Is it an image of the machine to do it?
Um, like let's see, a flail, or let me
Yeah.
see.
Click on images.
Okay, I'm looking at images of a flail, a threshing tool.
Yeah.
Okay, so this would be a flail. You know, this would be a flail, like they, hitting the you hitting the
Type
bushels
in
of wheat.
threshing floor.
Threshing floor. Okay,
Yeah, and click on
this looks
images.
like one. Okay, let me type in threshing. That kind of looks like it. Really, let me see. Threshing floor. Okay, they're showing animals. See, because you can. Okay, let me look this up. I'm gonna pull this one up and blow this one up, make it bigger. You can use multiple things to thresh. You know, um, I don't know why it's not pulling up. Let me see. Open image in a new tab. See, it's hella small. Esau be doing that. He be doing that with the images. Open image and see if it works. Yeah, Esau the damn demon. But a threshing floor, because I wanted to read those words on there. I guess you gotta click on this
Yeah.
Latter Day Saints website you know, to blow it up. But when I had the other picture pulled up of a flail, you know, like it showed this instrument. It could have spikes on the end. You know, it could have just like a big like nunchuck type of deal, you know.
Yeah.
And they will use that to thresh to separate the wheat. And you can also use it. You could also use it. Use animals to thresh as well. Let's try this. Open image, a new tab. Yeah, it's pulling up everything hella small. But you know, you can use animals to step on it. You know, basically like kind of like a wine press too. You know what I'm saying? But with animals, and instead of stepping on grapes, you're stepping on dry stuff to separate the grains. You know, to get
Yep.
the grains out of the husk. You know, and then they're showing right here. They're showing winnowing. Now a winnow machine, that's super cool. You know, to see that it like sifts the heavier grains and separates them from the lighter ones. You know, but it's a process, man. It's a separation process, right?
Yep.
Now, let me close these out. Okay. Now, when you go back here, okay, the time of threshing. All right, we got the definition of that thresh, basically to separate. Okay, so the
Right. Just like
separation of the
just like you separate the tares from the wheat. It's gonna come a time
uh,
for that. You got
that's right. That's right. That's exactly right. That's what I was gonna say.
it.
All right, and let me see, get a couple more verses. I'll start at I'll stop at verse 32. It says, verse 31, ponder now by thyself how great fruit of wickedness the grain of evil seed hath brought forth.
Woo.
Okay, that evil seed, man, is the the seed of the serpent. You know, he's the main one. See, because he was the main one responsible, but also too, we received you know death as a curse. You know, for our disobedience. We were told that our life was going to be made more difficult. You know, we were going to have to, by the sweat of our brow, you know, work the land. You know what I'm saying? We wasn't going to be able to just walk around the garden, and just eat things, fresh without having to work for it. You know, and verse 32 says, "And when the ears shall be cut down, which are without number, how great a floor shall they fill?" You see, so when the wicked, seed, all right, because the Lord basically he lets things come into fruition. Even when you read about that in Genesis, um, you know, it talks about the iniquity of the Amorites being fulfilled, and the iniquity of the Amorites was, those Canaanites that was in the land. They were doing all that wickedness, but they had to fulfill that lot. Same thing in Revelation 18. Okay, their sins stacked up to heaven. Like there's a certain limit that once it's fulfilled, that's when it's right. You don't cut the harvest before it's too ripe. I'm sorry, before it turns ripe, right? Um, let's see if this one here. All right, this is Ecclesiastes, excuse me, verse 7 and 29. It says, "Lo, this only have I found, that the Most High hath made man upright, but they have sought out many inventions." You see? So over time, our people mingling with the heathen, getting familiar with them, trying to figure out, how the heathen does things, how they operate. Okay, that's caused us to downgrade ourselves, dilute ourselves. Okay, lower our vibration. And this other precept that I had, I didn't pull it. We close out on this one in Wisdom of Solomon 2 and 24. Okay, actually, I'll start at verse 23. Uh, it says, "For the Most High created man to be immortal, specifically the sons of the Most High." Okay, and made him to be an image of his own eternity. See that? You see? So we were supposed to reflect what's going on in the heavens on the earth. Okay, but look at what happened in the garden. Okay, What happened in the garden was, you know, we were cursed, okay, with death. So it says, verse 24, nevertheless, through envy of the devil, see that? Through envy of the devil, the deceiver, came death into the world, and that and they that do hold of his side do find it. You know, so if you sticking around with these satanic practices, okay, you're gonna find what you're looking for, man. Death. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I think that's a good place to stop because there's like 50 something verses in this chapter.
Con,
Uh, we stopped at verse 30, and then I guess we can just kind of pick up where we left off uh,
con.
when we start again. Okay, yeah, it's the same precept. So yeah, I'll go ahead and close it. Did you have anything else, Aquan?
Oh no, we good. We good to go.
Okay, kind of. Hey, well, Lord willing, Abaratazad is an edifying lesson. All right, we'll pick up part 2 next week, Lord willing. With that, we want to give all praises, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rachak Wadash. Double honors to the apostles, and that was a great millstone. Peace and salutations to the elect. Shalom.
Shalom.